Hello friends, welcome back to Cosmopolitan Cornbread. So I'm bringing you into the kitchen today. I'm going to make some soup that's been on my website for years, but I've never done a video about it, and I thought I would share it with y'all today. It is for a kielbasa and white bean soup. Super simple, very quick recipe to make. And the recipe calls for 12 ounces, which is one of these packages of kielbasa, and I use a beef kielbasa. But we like to go heavier on the protein whenever we can, and so I'm using 2 packages of it. But how much you use is really dependent upon your preferences, and of course if you're trying to be frugal, you know, just use 1. All right, there we go. Got our kielbasa all diced up. I'm going to go ahead and turn my soup pot on here. And I'm just going to go ahead and put all of this into my soup pot and let it start cooking. Now, in addition to the kielbasa, I'm going to need some diced onions. And a while back, or not that long ago, I ordered a whole bunch of onions from Azure Standard, and I diced them up and I froze them in containers, which makes this an even easier recipe. So when I shared about dicing up the onions, I was using these freezer containers that I had used forever. And I can't remember if I mentioned it in the video or if it was in one of the comments, but I had been considering moving away from the plastic containers just because, you know, I'm not a huge fan of plastic, and realized or remembered I had a whole bunch of these weck jars. And of course jars can freeze well, especially when you're not doing liquids. And so I decided to pull these out and transferred all of my diced veggies from the plastic containers to my weck jars. And it worked perfectly. So now this recipe calls for one diced onion, and so it's going to be about a cup or so of diced onion. And I'm just eyeballing it. And actually, there's not much left in this jar, so I'm just going to go ahead and get the last of it out. There we go. So the kielbasa that I use is already fully cooked, so all I'm really going to do at this point is allow these to cook together until the onion kind of begins to caramelize a little bit and the kielbasa starts getting some brown bits in there, just for some added flavor. And while those are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rinse and drain 2 15-ounce cans, so 30 ounces altogether, of some beans. Now, this recipe is a white bean soup, and so you could use kidney beans, you can use cannellini beans like I have here, which is a white kidney bean. You could use Great Northern beans. It's really whatever you got in your pantry, whatever white beans you have. And honestly, if you don't have white beans, you could use other beans. Black beans, kidney beans, whatever you got. Generally, it's going to work just fine. All right, you guys, so it's been cooking for a couple of minutes here. And, you know, freezing your onions, pre-dicing them and freezing them saves you so much time, because Not only do you not have to dice your onions every time you need them, but because they've been frozen, they're already soft and tender. So you don't have to wait for that step either. So next we need some garlic, and we're going to go ahead and add in 2 or 3 cloves of garlic, minced, however much you like. A little more if you like a lot, which we do. We're big fans of garlic around here. Just kind of let that cook for just a minute. So the next ingredients I'm going to need is 1 can, and this is 14.5 ounces, so something about like that, of fire roasted tomatoes. If you don't have fire roasted, that's okay. And I just realized I opened up the wrong can. Y'all, I just realized I opened up the one that has the green chilies in it. So this is basically Rotel. I grabbed the wrong can. You know what? That's all right. We're just going to go with it. This will just have a little bit of extra kick today. But ordinarily, you just use normal fire roasted tomatoes. All right, so we've got the garlic, we've got the tomatoes. We're going to add in our 30 ounces of, I'm using cannellini beans, but again, you can use navy beans, Great Northern, whatever you've got handy, that have been rinsed and drained. I'm going to add in a teaspoon of rosemary. We're going to add in about a half a teaspoon of ground black pepper and salt. And then finally, we're going to add in about 3 cups of broth, and you can use chicken broth or beef broth or stock, bone stock, whichever one you have. This is a really easy recipe, very pantry based, other than the kielbasa from your fridge. Again, we're going to use 3 cups, so I'm not going to need this whole carton. And I decided to go with beef broth today. If I had an abundance of chicken broth, I would just use chicken broth. All right. So now I'm just going to stir it all together, and I'm going to let this simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then it'll be ready to eat. This is, as you can see, such an easy weeknight dinner. It goes together in just a few minutes. I mean, the longest part is dicing up the kielbasa, which didn't take very long at all. All right, I'm just going to turn this down and let that simmer. And while it's simmering, I wanted to answer a couple of questions that I've been getting. Anytime I get a new apron, everybody wants to know about it. People are always asking about my apron. So this is a new one. As you can see, it's got some ruffles on it down the side and down the whole, all the way around the skirt part of the apron. 2 pockets. This one is made out of linen, and it came from one of my favorite Etsy shops. It's called Linenia. A lot of my linen garments come from that shop, and I've bought dresses from them, skirts from them, all sorts of things. And one of the things I really love, you know, not only is this a Texas-based business, so it's here in the United States. So anytime I order something from them, they usually send a couple of bonus things along, and pretty much every time there is some sort of accessory that they send along. Usually I get a scrunchie, and depending upon the fabric, it's sometimes the exact same color as whatever I purchased. This time I got a yellow one, and I love getting these scrunchies because I'll use them to help hold my hair in the bun that I have underneath my scarf. This one was a yellow one, but you know, back during the vid, they used to send masks, face masks, out of the exact same fabric. So if you ordered a dress, you had a matching mask. I didn't use those much, but I did keep the couple of them that I got for when I'm doing things like cleaning out chicken coops and all of that, and dusty things. But the other thing that they sent, and I think this is phenomenal, I love that they do this. You know, when you order clothing on the internet, and you always have to wonder about the color. Is the color of the thing I'm getting the same color as it looks like on my computer? And I will tell you, there have been many times where I was very disappointed. But this company that made this apron, they send a little brown envelope, and in that envelope are swatches of every color that they have in their inventory, so that when you are going to order something, you know exactly what that color is going to look like. And I love that they do that. So there's no surprises, you know exactly what you're getting. Burgundy, taupe, which is the color of my apron. You have the small, what's it called? Small and thick stripes, which I actually have a couple of things in that fabric. So every linen that they carry on their website, in their Etsy shop. So this way, when you're ordering something, there's no surprises, and you're not going to be disappointed that the color that you ordered isn't what you thought it was going to be. And so I am not affiliated with them in any way whatsoever. I just get a lot of questions about my linen, and I do get questions about my aprons. A lot of my crossback aprons that you see are ones that I sewed myself. I have a tutorial here on my channel as well as on my website of how to make that. You don't have to have a pattern. You just have to be able to measure out some rectangles and sew them together. Super easy. All right, so like I said, we're going to let the soup simmer for a few minutes, and then we'll be back. All right, friends, so there we go. The soup is done. It's been in here just simmering away while we did our evening chores. Look at that beautiful soup. And as you saw, it is super, super easy to make. And then to go with the soup, I have some leftover challah bread. So I'm just going to cut myself a slice to go with this. Friends, so that is how you make the white bean and kielbasa soup. Again, I've made this recipe for years, but I just never did a video of it. If you would like to give this recipe a try, you can get a free printable version of it on my website, cosmopolitancornbread.com, where you can find over 800 recipes plus articles and all sorts of great content. If you are brand new here to the channel, my name is Constance and I do new videos every single week here on the channel, all about home cooking, homesteading, and faith. And be sure to sign up for my free email newsletter so you never miss a thing. That's it for today, friends. God bless, and I'll talk to y'all next time.